Hi, I'm Mona Deutsch-Miller, the University Synagogue Sisterhood Vice President of Ritual, and I'd like to invite you to share, and that includes singing, even if you're muted, and dancing, to our University Synagogue Sisterhood Sukkot celebration. Today, you'll have a chance to see artwork and by our religious school students at University Synagogue, which will be interspersed throughout the program. So please keep your eyes peeled. You'll see the Sukkot that our preschool children from ECLEC, the Early Childhood Learning Center, have built with their teachers. You'll hear from Rabbi Barry Lutz. You'll hear beautiful music sung by Cantor Kara Spencer Shapiro, accompanied by Susan Rosenstein and also by herself on guitar. And you'll hear some talks and readings from Julia Weinstein and me. Julia Weinstein, who of course is well known to our University Synagogue Sisterhood Board, is a past president of University Synagogue Sisterhood, Marketing and Communications Chair for the Sisterhood, and the Women of Reform Judaism Vice President of Programs and Education. I'm going to give some quick thank yous. This whole program is approximately 35 minutes. We are grateful to Barry and Elaine Sykov for pictures from their beautiful sukkah. So look for your friends. Some of you may recognize yourselves. Keep your eyes peeled for lovely artwork and Sukkot done by the children. Please sing along at home. And I hope, I made some discoveries in doing some research for this program. And I'm extremely grateful to Julia Weinstein for doing the video editing and slicing and making this program come together. And I'm certainly grateful to our wonderful clergy at University Synagogue and all of you. So let's begin.
Chag Sameach, everyone, and happy Sukkot. Sukkot is the first of 3 pilgrimage festivals in the Jewish year, followed by Passover and Shavuot. These festivals, all mentioned in the Torah, have historic, agricultural, and spiritual significance. During these festivals, the residents of ancient Israel would bring the fruits of their harvest to the temple in Jerusalem in an expression of their thanksgiving for what they had been provided. We don't often think of Sukkot as part of the High Holy Days, but actually they mark a significant moment in the High Holy Day journey. In fact, in important ways, the High Holy Days would not be complete without Sukkot. As we move from the somber reflections during the days of awe to our celebrations of Sukkot and Simchat Torah. Sukkot is a time to give thanks for the spiritual harvest of these days. We shift from a period of often intense introspection, where we are focused on us, on our innermost selves, and reconnecting with that which truly brings life purpose and meaning, to a time of turning outward and re-entering the world around us. Sukkot is also called Zaman Simchatenu, the season of our rejoicing. It is the only festival associated with an explicit commandment to rejoice. We turn joyfully outward towards those who have likely been the focus of much of the internal work we have been doing during the High Holy Days. Our loved ones, our friends, our community. With Sukkot, we turn from the work of the Spirit toward the work of this world. In a sense, with the building of the Sukkah, decorating it with the earth's harvest, we return to this world. Sukkot regrounds us so that we can move forward with the very real work of healing this world. Even as we do so, for 1 week, we place ourselves at the mercy of the elements. In a sense, we physically participate in the words of Unatana Tokef. We subject ourselves to the elements and surround ourselves with community. We watch the fruit and vegetables in our sukkah begin to decay, even as we celebrate the earthly joys of love and companionship. For 1 week, we intentionally put ourselves at risk to experience in a small way what life is like without a solid roof and sturdy walls to protect us. In a very real way, the Sukkah reminds us to take care of that over which we do have some control.
Hallel are songs of praise that are sung to welcome the new moon and the new month that comes with it, and also sung during the Shalosh Regalim, the 3 festivals, of which, of course, Sukkot is one. And so here is a beautiful setting by Julie Silver of Pitchuli, Open for Me.
Sometimes I lose my way, I stumble and fall, I fail to see the open door and only see the wall. Sometimes I close my ears when open they should be, but then I stop and listen to that still small voice inside of me. Sharet Tzedek Avovam Odeya Pitchuli Sharet Tzedek Avovam Odeya. in the work of your hands and walk in love and freedom to the promised land. And when I lose myself, I pray that I may see that spark inside the darkness and the gates open for me. Pitchuli, Sharet Tzedek, Avovam, Odeya. Pitchuli, Sharet Tzedek, Avovam, Odeya. Pitchuli, Sharet Tzedek, Avovam, Odeya. Pitchuli, Sharet Tzedek, Avovam, Odeya.
Mona asked me to read an excerpt of a Devar Torah that I wrote for WRJ last year during this same time of Sukkot. It was published on WRJ's blog on October 18th, 2019, and you can find it by going to wrj.org. Do what brings you joy. Choose joy. Plant what brings you joy. Enjoy your life more. Such exhortations are common in today's messaging on the benefits of mindfulness and self-actualization. But what is joy? How do you recognize it? And why is it important? Maria Kondo, whose brand is known as KonMari, is a Japanese tidying consultant whose books and Netflix series have inspired millions of followers. KonMari's life philosophy is centered around joy. She says, keep only those things and relationships that spark joy. Prioritize joy in all areas of your life. If it doesn't spark joy, then let it go with gratitude for its service and for what it taught you. The KonMari method of tidying your clothes, your things, relationships, and life is the hip way to practice mindfulness and achieve self-actualization. As hip and novel as the KonMari method may be, joyfulness and gratitude have long been recognized by Jewish tradition as important. Sukkot is known, as our rabbi just said, as the festival or season of our joy. We are enjoined to make a sukkah, a temporary shelter, and to leave our homes as a statement of gratitude for everything that comes from God. And we are commanded to be joyous on this holiday. Sukkot is the ultimate holiday of mindfulness, when we leave the security of our homes for the temporary, the material for the experiential, and focus on our friends and family and the meaning of gratitude. The sukkah, a rustic, fragile, temporary, and decorated dwelling, is a far cry from the Zen beauty and minimalism of KonMari's tidied up spaces in our permanent homes, yet both in very different ways allow us to experience joy and focus on what is of value. Joy is defined by the dictionary as a feeling of great pleasure, happiness, or delight. KonMari further classifies that feeling of joy and says it should be accompanied by a little thrill. As we approach the end of Sukkot, let us carry the teachings of this festival into the new year, holding on to, searching for, and being open to the little thrill that signals that we are in the presence of joy. And let us remember to feel gratitude for what we learn along the way.
The Sukkot itself comes from the Hebrew word meaning booths or huts, and is a reminder of the story of the Israelites' 40 years of wandering in the desert, during which time, we are told, the Israelites lived in Sukkot. Sukkot, which comes just 5 days after Yom Kippur, is ordained in the Bible as a 7-day festival. When the Jews were dispersed into the diaspora, and the festival could no longer be announced from the temple, an 8th day was added just to make sure that the appropriate days were observed. Today in Israel, Sukkot is observed as a 7-day festival. It is similarly observed in most Reformed congregations, also as a 7-day festival, and ends with the observance of Simchat Torah on the following day. Sukkot is marked by several distinct and fascinating traditions. One, of course, is the building of a sukkah, which is commonly used during the 7-day festival for welcoming friends, for welcoming family, for celebrating together, for eating and entertaining, and even some sleep in as well. We adorn the sukkah with vegetables and fruits, a reminder of the harvest and a reminder of the gratitude we should have for God's creation that surrounds us, so much of which we enjoy through the grace of God. There is, of course, the idea as well of a chidur mitzvah, that is, the beautifying of a mitzvah. And so we beautifully decorate our sukkah in order to enhance our joy and celebrate this moment. And of course, one of the mitzvot associated most closely with Sukkot is to actually dwell in the sukkah. And so when we sit in the sukkah, we say a blessing for doing so. It begins with words that you all know and ends with the words leishev basukkah, to dwell in the sukkah. And so I now invite you to join with me as we say the blessing for dwelling in the sukkah. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu leishev basukkah. Praised are you, Adonai, sovereign of the universe, who has sanctified us with commandments and ordained that we should dwell in the sukkah.
Hi everybody, I have my lulav and etrog here, and I'm going to share a little bit about them with you and share how we shake the lulav. So the lulav itself is made up of 3 branches, and here we have the palm in the middle, and on one side we have the myrtle, which has the leaf shape that's like an eye, and then on the other side here we have the olive branch that has a leaf shape that's like the lips. They say that the palm is like the spine, nice and straight back there. And this, of course, is the wonderful, fragrant etrog. In English, we call it a citron. And when we do the blessing and shake the lulav, we hold the citron, the etrog, in our left hand. And I'm probably backwards to you right now, but trust me, this is my left hand. And we hold the lulav in our right hand. And then we bring these 4 species together and we say the blessing. If we were in the sukkah, of course, we would start with a blessing for being in the sukkah. As you can see, I'm not inside of Sukkot, so I won't start with that blessing. But we say this blessing: Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam Asher Kidshanu B'mitzvotav Vitzivanu Al Nitilat Lulav. Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of all, who blesses us with mitzvot, makes us holy with mitzvot, and commands us to take up the lulav. And then, of course, this is my very first time this year waving the lulav, and it may be for some of you as well. If that's the case, you can join me in Shehachayanu, Baruch Atah Adonai Eloheinu Melech Haolam, Shehachayanu V'kiyamanu V'higianu Lazman Hazeh. Blessed are you, eternal our God, sovereign of the universe, who keeps us alive, who sustains us, and who has brought us to this season. So I'm going to let you in on a secret. I am not facing east right now, because if I did so, I would have my back to you, and that wouldn't work so well for this video. But when we shake the lulav, we want to turn our physical direction, our front, toward the east, toward Jerusalem. But I'm going to stay facing the camera. So we begin by shaking the lulav in front of us to the east, and then we shake to the. Sorry, I'm backwards now, so I'm messing it up. We'll shake to our left, and then we shake to the west behind us. We shake to the right, and then we shake to the heavens, and we shake to the earth. And then we have completed the mitzvah of shaking the lulav, wishing you all a wonderful Zman Simchatenu, a time of our happiness. May we take each moment to recognize that happiness. And I'm going to end by breathing in the beautiful fragrance of this citron. That brings me great happiness each year as I do it. Chag Sameach.
Sukkot is filled with scriptural readings, each with their own unique connection to some aspect of the festival of Sukkot. On the first day of Sukkot, we read a passage from Leviticus that provides instructions for the offerings that were to be brought to the temple, and there were many of them on the pilgrimage festivals, which of course included Sukkot, Passover, and Shavuot. The Haftarah for the first day of Sukkot comes from the prophet Zechariah and provides a description of events linked to the end of days, to Messianic times, the establishment of Jerusalem as the center of the world, as a place from which God will rule over all during Messianic times. Most significantly, it is in the Sukkot Haftarah that we find that phrase that we all know so well from the Aleinu. Bayom hahu yihiyeh Adonai echad, u'shemo echad. On that day, God will be one, and God's name will be one. The end of days came to be linked to Sukkot for a variety of reasons that are readily apparent, coming as it does as the culmination of the High Holy Days, first of all, our successful journey through the process of Teshuvah, our recognition and acknowledgement of God as the one rightful sovereign in our lives, and our joyful, renewed, and refreshed entry to the world. These are just a few of many connections to the Messianic times. It's easy to see why Sukkot became linked to these times. Each of the intermediary days of Sukkot also has an attached reading from Torah. All of them come from the 29th chapter of Numbers, in which we find descriptions of the daily offerings, the many, many daily offerings that were to be brought to the temple during Sukkot. And on the intermediary Shabbat of Sukkot, we read from Exodus the story of Moses' second trip up the mountain to Mount Sinai to meet with God. In addition to mentioning the observance of the pilgrimage festivals, which is included at the very end of this story, this portion also speaks of Moses' second encounter with God after the incident of the golden calf. Moses, as you know, asks to see God's face, to which God replies, "No, but you can see evidence of where I have been." This message alone, that we can see evidence of God all around us, makes it worthy of inclusion for Sukkot, as we are invited to dwell in the Sukkah and take note of the wonderful wonder and majesty of God's creation all around us. And finally, during Sukkot, we read the book of Ecclesiastes, the Megillah of Ecclesiastes, which comes as a final fitting commentary on the high holy days. Ecclesiastes serves as a reminder once again of the frailty of life. Nothing really matters, we are told. There is nothing we can do under the sun that hasn't already been done. Nothing we gain in all our worldly possessions that we can take with us when we go. There is no real value to any of our possessions. The most important thing we can do, Ecclesiastes reminds us, is to take advantage of each of our brief days upon this earth, to love each other, and make the moments of our lives sacred through our care, love, and concern for each other. And isn't that a most appropriate message as we come to the conclusion of the high holy days?
To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to be born, a time to die, a time to plant, a time to reap, a time to kill, a time to heal, a time to laugh, a time to weep. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time to build up, a time to break down, a time to dance, a time to mourn, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven. A time of love, a time of hate, a time of war, a time of peace, a time you may embrace, a time of peace. I swear it's not too late. To everything turn, turn, turn. There is a season, turn, turn, turn. And a time for every purpose under heaven.
Hi, it's Mona Deutsch-Miller, and these are a few thoughts on Sukkot. When we lived in Miami Beach in the 1950s, when I was very young, I think we sometimes had a sukkah in the backyard. This might be a false memory. Unfortunately, I have nobody to check with. I remember a sense of excitement and newness as this new temporary hut was going over the grass, and people kept coming over. And there was something really magical and exciting about this blend of new, lightweight, obviously temporary furniture, and all these people coming over. And it wasn't to some fancy indoor party where there were beautiful ashtrays and a lighter that was like a little sculpture, and there were special dishes that my parents used the way they usually entertained. This was outside, much more informal, and it was my realm where I loved to play. And the old relatives, who seemed absolutely ancient and inscrutable, used to pinch my cheek so hard that it was painful. And I hated those pinches. And it was as if they were trying to grab something in my face for themselves. Well, now that I've learned that Kohelet, the book of Ecclesiastes, is associated with Sukkot, that aspect of trying to hang on to time and that painful pinch is making more sense to me. Things grow, they ripen, we harvest, we're surrounded by color and life. And no matter how hard we try to hang on to it, it fades. Vanity of vanities, all is vanity, Kohelet tells us. Now he's taken a long view of existence. Sukkot, with this riot of color, sensation, smells, dance, shake, shake, shake that lulav, celebrates the now. So the fact that this is the only Jewish holiday that expressly commands us to rejoice not only put me back with those wonderful memories, but it gives me renewed appreciation for the inherent wisdom of our ancestors. After the intense self-reflection of the High Holy Days, I think the human spirit needs an infusion of freshness, joy, the beautiful green of the lulav, and the citrusy smell of the etrog. Rejoicing is very much an attitude of the present. Chag Sameach to you all. I just certainly want to acknowledge all of the people in our thank yous, and thank you again, Julia Weinstein, and thank you to the Sisterhood for giving me an opportunity to delve more deeply into the meaning of Sukkot. We're going to stay around for the next 5 minutes in case any of you want to share your reactions or your thoughts, or just chat with each other. Remember Sukkot past when we weren't in a pandemic. But the pandemic is not going to last forever. And just think how ancient this holiday is and how wonderfully fresh and rewarding for all of us. So I hope you enjoyed the program. And if you want to share it with other people, we will have a link to it. So people are welcome to watch this program at a time that's convenient for them, and families can go over the prayers, shake a lulav, enjoy the artwork, and so forth. So that's it. Chag Sameach, happy Sukkot 5781.